ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no rain with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop, come on, baby, higher. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop.
Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's that time of the week. Yes, guess who's back? Back again. Guess who's back? Tell a friend. Mr. Scott E. Webb. Beam him up, Scotty. Back for the bookends on the week. He will start the week off here in our ECSI studios live from Tampa, Florida, to recap MLB, to talk about what he saw, what he expects for the week, and, of course, give out a few leans or selections for the Monday night card. Handful of games. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. Looks like 11 on the docket there. And then we're going to have Friday afternoons for the Friday Night Lights. And, of course, the weekend series that are coming up. So super stoked to have him back here as he's enjoying the high life, the good life, and I couldn't be prouder for him. Of course, ECSI VIPs on a heater. End the week 10-2. We've won 6 in a row thanks to the Red Sox first 5, over 2.5. I think they had 10 after 5. They ended up scoring 18. The Bats are on fire. Going to be fun to talk to Scotty about the Red Sox, of course. Taking into consideration last Sunday, 3-0. We are cooking with Crisco here as we are 14-2 our last 16. So have some fun. If you're interested in the ECSI VIP program, 2 ways. Head to our at EC Sports Invest right now. Today's the last day, by the way. We have partnered with Dub Club. Click the link there, and for $1.78, you can get 30 days of action, all sports included, the Masters. And you know what? I'll throw in the Kentucky Derby, too, the first Saturday of May. $1.78 a day. Go jump on there and have some fun there. Shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play. Download that app. It is free. Travis, Zach, Guy, myself, Amber, Holly, Carol, Bucks, Ali. The list is endless. Come on board, Jay Berry. You'll have a great time there. I promise you. Viva Tequila Seltzer, 6 flavors in all. The East Coast is cuckoo for coconut. And last but never least, AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. Introduce yourself to Terry Smith on Facebook. Jump on back to AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. Place an order today. You could be grilling as early as Thursday. So without further ado, Mr. Scott E. Webb. Morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. It's been a nice weekend down here in Florida. It's like, I don't know, 90 degrees. I went to the pool yesterday. I'm all flush in color and still got gray hair, I got new glasses and, and all that stuff. I think since the last time I've been on a little bit of a health kick. I weighed at one point before like 228 pounds. Now I'm down to 195, 194. So I'm down 35 pounds or so, pretty close, 30 pounds anyway. And kind of fluctuates between 190, 194 nowadays. Just staying away from sugar, living a good life, doing all the things necessary, and certainly rolling with MLB starting. So I'm very excited. Been staying up watching all the games, doing all the stuff. It's been an interesting start.
I mean, we haven't talked in so long. There's a million ways to go here. I guess I'll start with my headliner. Are the Torpedo Bats here to stay? And it was kind of comical when they were introduced. Obviously, the Yankees on that Saturday, I think they hit a bazillion homers. I don't think a few of them have still landed, Scotty. That was the talk of baseball. I considered it a new era of, quote unquote, the steroid era. We go back in the day with Bonds, McGuire, and Sosa. The world stopped when they got to the plate during that home run chase there. And now the Torpedo Bats are here. The millennials, the Gen Z, X's and Y's, they don't have time or patience, to watch a slow 3-2 pitchers duel. So bring out the Torpedo Bats. And then, listen, if it gets out of hand, the MLB can just throw in the dead balls and it will be Torpedo Bats versus the dead balls. But thoughts on the Torpedo Bats, Scotty?
Well, in doing a little research about Torpedo Bats, these aren't new. They were introduced in Major League Baseball maybe 4 years ago. And there was only a handful of players who said, I'll even give it a try. They didn't like the idea. So, I think that, obviously the Yankees did whatever they did that one weekend there and hit all those home runs. I guess the thought being that, Torpedo Bats are the next biggest thing, right? And then all these teams went and ordered Torpedo Bats. So the theory being that there needs to be a lot of research to whether a torpedo bat works for a certain player or not, because it all is individual basis. The bat is made based on having the barrel moved to where the sweet spot is for that player. So if some guys are hitting the ball on the end of the bat, well, I mean, the torpedo bat's not going to work for them. But if it's moved towards where, like the label of the
I think we froze, Scotty. You still there? Hit refresh, brother. Come in and come out. Internet reigns supreme again. We'll go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, hopefully Scotty is back. Let me get up here. Stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Good Food. At Atlanta Steaks and Seafood, you'll find the highest quality meats from a variety of delicious cuts, tomahawks, salmon fillets, ribeyes, and plenty more to choose from. With an easy-to-use, mobile-friendly website, selecting your pick of meat is made quick and easy. And don't forget, worrying about your dinner is a thing of the past. Check out some of the amazing subscription packages that Atlanta Steaks and Seafood has to offer. Fresh steak and seafood straight to your door. Order online at atlantasteaksandseafood.com.
Jared, hey, we're gonna need you to tone it down with the Summer Friday thing, okay?
What are you talking about?
Well, for one, It's not summer anymore.
Oh, really?
Coconut. Also, who is this?
I'm the caddy.
Oh, he's my intern.
Sorry, intern. I'm his intern.
Yeah, he's doing a great job.
No golfing in the office, okay? Summer Fridays are over. You can keep the Hawaiian shirt, but the rest of this stuff, all right? Are you grilling?
Oh, yeah. Did you want a burger or a hot dog?
No, grilling in the office.
That's a good point. We should take this outside.
No, that don't. You put that right back down.
Yo, it's all in the hips.
Oh, dude, come on, we gotta go. Let's go.
You know, it's funny. I say this all the time. Mother Nature and the internet are undefeated. You can't beat them. And Scotty just texted me that his internet went down. They're resetting, and he should be right back up. So I want to thank everyone up here already. Stay patient. I promise you, Scotty will be back here. If you haven't already, head on over to YouTube at East Coast Sports Investors. Subscribe. Come on back to EC Sports Invest. And follow us here on Twitter or X at EC Sports Invest. We'll follow you back. Any questions, comments, concerns about East Coast Sports Investors, EC Media, you can send us an email to eastcoastsportsinvestors@gmail.com. He says, power is still flickering for some reason. Just another one. It just never ends here. I'll break down some of the morning games, some overnight numbers, and then what the current prices are. And I know, let me just backtrack here. I know everyone's all jacked up for baseball. Championship game today in college hoops. Congrats to UConn and the women's thumping of South Carolina. Gino gets number 12. An amazing feat. Paige Beckers, Paige Buckets, we call her back here at home, goes off into the sunset with a national title. Sarah Strong is only a freshman. This team is going to be a wagon for a while here. Paige will be heading off to the WNBA and the consensus #1 pick there. So congrats there. The game tonight, what everyone expected, Duke versus Florida. I talked about it on Sports Grid yesterday with Scott Wetzel and Joe Madden. You know, I don't use the C word. I despise the C word, whether it's professional athletes or, of course, college, which is now paid athletes as well. But the last 7 to 8 minutes of Duke, I compared to how much of a shock it was to me, myself, and the rest of the country as well, as they were up 14 in clear control. And I went back, and I think they got outscored the last 8 or 9 minutes, like 25-5 to end that game. And Houston deserves to be where they are here. But I compared the Duke meltdown to Buster Douglas at 50-60-1 beating Mike Tyson. 28-3 Patriots and Falcons Super Bowl. It was just pre-flop, I wasn't comparing this to that because I thought Houston, as I said all week, had a great shot if they kept Duke into the high 50s, low 60s. Once Duke hit 70, 71, 72 and on, it was a Duke number where they would win outright and potentially cover. They never got there, of course. And so the opening number was Florida -1.5, now 1 with a 141.5. Again, Vegas is rolling the ball out. First one to 70 wins. I think the coaching edge strongly goes to Houston here with Kelvin Sampson. The semi-home game in the state of Texas. Golden and Florida has the better team on paper. But if Houston mucks it up like they are and they get out early, it's going to be a tough pill to swallow for the Gators. But we'll get into that at the closing bell around 4 o'clock with Riley Magnuson. Mr. Scott Webb is back. Let's bring him on. Go ahead, Scotty.
Hey, sorry about that. I looked out the window. We're getting a big storm, so that's what happened. I had a power flicker, and well, you know what happens. The internet crashes. So, now we're back, so it's all good. But anyway, back to these torpedo bats. These aren't new. So there's a lot of study and research that needs to go into whether they're good for an individual player or whether they're not. I think some of these guys can use them and others can't. Meaning that, if they're used to hitting the ball in the barrel of the bat where a normal barrel is, then it is what it is. But it sounded like, some of these guys like Volpe said that, hey, I don't always hit the ball in the barrel of the bat. I hit it, more towards the handle. So if they move the barrel down to there, that becomes the sweet part of the bat for him. So I don't know if this is going to be a trend that actually catches on or not. In watching some of the conversation around what the Yankees said, they've been researching this for 2 years. So this is not like something that they haven't planned. The bats are legal in terms of size and stuff. So it's not like there's something illegal going on. And I don't know if this is going to be a thing or not. I really don't. I think that they were successful that weekend, but you know what? Stats are deceiving, man, because, you look at what's going on in Major League Baseball and you think, oh my God, these guys are scoring runs all over the place. Like, look what the Red Sox did yesterday, right? They scored all these runs. All this stuff is going on. The Yankees that weekend, dude, home runs are down, batting average is down compared to last year. And, we were talking last year about the year before that when it was, stupid numbers. So the game is not suffering. And, as far as I'm concerned, I like the 1 to 2 games and that kind of stuff if they're well pitched games. But the reality is that, I shouldn't say watched, the Cincinnati Reds, what did they do? Went 3 games, lost 1-0 all 3 games. You can't tell me those were all 3 great pitched games from all the Red starters and the Brewer starters. It's just a matter of teams that can't hit. And that's a little bit of a problem because, in my mind, I sit here and go, Major League Baseball wants to expand and they want to go to these new cities and do all that stuff, which is great for baseball, but it's really not because you don't have enough pitchers as it is that are good enough to suffice. And the way it looks to me is you don't have enough hitters either. So if you don't have enough players to take on this advancement of new teams and new cities, just keep it where it is, build it up. That's my opinion.
We're going to be here every Monday morning at 10:30. We're going to be here Fridays, and the main objective again is to give out some educated plays, props, or whatever our eye sees. We're going to recap the weekends, of course, on Mondays. And, of course, Friday, get ready for Friday Night Lights in the MLB and talk up some series as well. I want to backtrack here. We're 10 days in, Scotty. Your leaders in the clubhouse, Yankees 6-3, Red Sox 6-4, winners of 5 in a row. Rafael Devers starts the season 0-for-19, 15 strikeouts. He's back. He's on fire, as we witnessed again last night. Detroit Tigers lead the AL Central 5-4, winners of 3 in a row. KC 4-5. Your Texas Rangers 8-2, winners of 5 in a row. Angels in second, 6-3, which is kind of a crazy stat there. Let's stay right there in the American League. What's surprising to you so far in the American League, Scotty?
Well, let me pull up what I got going on here because I wanted to really talk about that for a second because with my computer shutting down, I had all this stuff up there. Now it's gone, so I'm trying to open it back up. So my numbers are reflecting a couple of things. I think that let me pull this over here so I can see it a little bit better. There we go. So one of the things I think that's should be talked about is I think all the divisions are competitive. I don't think there's going to be any runaway, 10-game winner in any division in the American League. So So American League East, right? You've got the Yankees, the Red Sox, Boston, Toronto, Tampa Bay, Baltimore. My numbers show 548 winning percentage, like 88 wins, 88.7 wins, and the lowest one in the division is 81.7. That's a gap of 7 for all of them. And it's basically 88.7, 86.9, 85.7, 84.3, they're all within, a couple games of each other. So I think what is going to happen in Major League Baseball is you're going to have a very competitive season, especially in the American League. The American League Central is kind of that way, minus the Cleveland and the White Sox. The White Sox, I don't think, are going to be competitive again. I think Cleveland's going to find that they were very lucky last year. We talked about that a lot last season. And they're going to miss some of these pitchers that aren't there anymore. So they're going to run into some problems because their pitchers aren't good enough, and they can't they're just not there with the other teams. So Minnesota, Kansas City, Detroit, I think they're going to be all neck and neck pretty much all season long. Nobody went out and did anything in that division to take it over, and it was right there available. So I think those teams are all going to be within, a couple games of each other. And the American League West is kind of the same. You got Seattle, Houston, Texas. Those teams are all going to battle right there to the end too, and have to see, if Texas has enough pitching, because they've got pretty good offense, but they got to hit. Seattle's got good pitching, but no offense. And I don't know what the hell Houston's doing. So let me see. I had this up earlier, and I don't know if it's still the same case. If I go here and go to standings, runs scored. So if you look at runs scored for the whole for all of them, in the American League, the Houston Astros have scored 27 runs so far this season. That's the lowest total of any team in the American League. And if I told you that it was 27, and they were also only one team, the Atlanta Braves, which is another interesting conversation, they've only scored 24 runs. Those are the two teams that have scored the lowest number of runs in Major League Baseball this season. And I think Houston's one of those teams that, they're going to try to do it with their pitching. I don't think their pitching's good enough. So we'll see. We'll see what they end up with. Their offense is not going to be like what it used to be. Their offense used to win them games, and I just have a feeling that this is a team they're not saying they're rebuilding, but they need to rebuild and get some offense in there. They're going to need that kid they got from the Cubs, plays right field. I forget what his name is off the top of my head, but they're going to need to get him that from the Tucker trade. He's not going to need to develop fast and be an offensive dynamo, but that doesn't happen that way in Major League Baseball. So I think the American League, and then I was looking at it, and I made a note because when we were talking, I think the National League is more dominant over the American League. They have better teams. If you look at even though the Braves started off with one win, which is amazing, if you look at the Braves are a good team. Plus, they're going to get two guys back that are going to really help them. Strider's coming back, I think, maybe next week, maybe the end of this week. So Strider's coming back. That's going to help them a lot. And then Acuna's coming back, at the end of this month, maybe the beginning of next month. And he's going to, should help that team. That team, they got guys, they're just not hitting. And then you got the Mets and the Phillies. I have my numbers. Where are they? There we go. My numbers have all three of those teams, all three of them, better than any team in the American League, better than any of them. And I think my opinion is the most surprising thing to me that nobody's really talking about is everybody talked about the Cubs last year. I think the Cubs are just as good as just about any team. The Cubs are good. And people are going to start realizing the Cubs are good once they start, that division, they're going to win that division. They're going to win that division by quite a margin, I think. Because the Brewers aren't any good. They're not, they don't hit enough. They were pretty good last year just because they were good situationally, but they don't have enough pitching. I know Woodruff's coming back, but I don't think that's going to be enough for them. And then the Cardinals, even though they've played a little better, they've scored some runs, they don't have enough pitching to get them anywhere. So when you think about what's going on in that division, the Cubs are way better than all of them, way better in offense. The only thing the Cubs don't have is relief pitching. And
the
theoretically, deals do this, do that, whatever. That's the way relief pitching works. And then in the National League West, holy shit, yeah, you got the Dodgers, the Padres, the Giants are playing really good, and the Diamondbacks. Man, those teams. You look at those teams, the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks, and the Padres. They're all better than them teams in the American League too. So you can sit here and go, I got 6 or 7 teams in the National League that really is better than any team in the American League. So I find that a little amazing because it's not been that way for a long time. The American League always had some standards, and they had some boppers and some really big teams. And I think people can talk about the Yankees all they want to. I don't have the Yankees winning 90 games, not 90. So and I have them slightly ahead of most every other team. Like I have the Red Sox at 87 wins, or 86 wins. I have Baltimore at 87 and the Yankees at 88. No 90 win teams. And then there's the Braves at 90, the Mets over 90, the Phillies at 90, the Cubs at 89, the Dodgers at 100, the Diamondbacks at 88, and the Padres at like 87. So, I just think that nobody's really talking about how dynamic the teams are in the National League. They're good. Like, I don't know if you watched much of the series between the Dodgers and the Phillies. Those were great games. I mean, they were battles the whole time through, and they had good pitchers and they got hit. So, here's, Major League Baseball has changed dramatically. Back when we were, watching the game and Bob Gibson and, Tom Seaver and all these guys, you expected low scoring games almost every night. Well, you can still get that, but those dominant aces out there, where are they? When I pull up the list, and let me go to Fangraphs for 1 second, just to explain this to you for one quick second. If I go there and I pull up the pitchers, and we'll just use the projections of the pitchers for right now, because that way we get kind of a little better idea. There is one guy that stands out above everybody else, and that's Paul Skeens. He stands out at everybody else. And then you got Garrett Crochet, Zach Wheeler, Jacob deGrom, Chris Sale, Tariq Skubal, and Logan Gilbert, Dylan Cease. All of those guys are kind of in there, but they're at such a tier level down. Yeah, they're still the best in baseball, but they're, those dominant ace guys, they're 5-type WAR pitchers, and Skeens is a 6. Those guys I just said, Crochet, Wheeler, deGrom, Sale, Skubal, and those guys are between 4 and 5, and then everybody else is below that. That means, yeah, they're all-star level pitchers, but they're not dominant aces guys. They can get hit. I mean, we watched Skubal pitch. He's been hit already a couple times this year. So my opinion is, if you can't hit these pitchers, you got a problem. And there are teams that have problems. They are at a point where offense is the separator of all these teams. If you can hit, you're going to win. If you can't hit, you're in trouble.
I mean, there's so much to gravitate from what you just said. I'll do it, try to do it quickly. American League East, Red Sox, listen, they're going to hit. Bregman is elite at Fenway. The extension to Crochet, he can breathe now for the next 6 years. They extend Campbell. They still got Anthony and Marcelo and a few others in the minors. They will go as far, I think, as their starting pitching. Giolito and Bello are getting closer. We need, the playoff, excuse me, in World Series Walker Buehler, obviously throughout the season, not those guy that has started so far. Cutter Crawford, yada, yada, yada. But offensively, the Red Sox will be fine. I think they will be challenging the Yankees throughout the whole year. I thought Baltimore would have a regression. They lose Corbin Burns. I thought offensively, they'll be fine. We know that. Adley's had a great start to the year and a few others there. Gunnar Henderson, a little nicked up. He'll be ready. But Toronto, the wild card, congrats. $500 million. It looks like the pork chop Vlad Guerrero will be there for the next 14 years. They needed to do that. And, of course, your Tampa Bay Rays, based obviously on your starting pitching. Big kick in the nuts. Before I keep going here, give us an update on McClanahan. Got him back. I had flashbacks of Dave Dravecki, Scott, when I saw that. Because I know you remember that. Came back from cancer, threw, and his arm just broke after a pitch. I didn't like what I saw from McClanahan.
Well, it's not as bad as everybody thinks. It's still an injury that's got to be fixed. Well, I shouldn't say even fixed. It's not even a surgery required fix. It's just rehab and rest and work through it. It's a triceps problem. So that's great news for long term for him, because it's not an elbow thing. It's not his Tommy John that he had and all that stuff. It's just an unfortunate thing that happened. So, this is probably, 2-3 months, maybe down the road, he'll be ready to go. But the Rays are surprising to me every year. They're surprising me already. My opinion is they're a team that really shouldn't be able to compete in the American League East the way they're constructed, but they do. And they score runs and they make the most out of almost every situation that they have. And then they're just going to go up against teams, like if you go against the Texas Rangers and the Rangers are in their good phase, because there's times when they can't do anything, but when they're in their good, you're not going to beat them. And that's what happened this weekend. They went up against the Rangers, and the Rangers hit a couple home runs, did some different things, and got some quality pitching. And the Rays they don't have that talent, but they have decent talent, and that it all works together and molds together. And their outfield right now is out hitting just about everybody's outfield. I mean, their outfield is doing great, and guys you never heard of, Magnum and Meisner and all these guys. It's like you never heard of these guys, and then all of a sudden they come out, and they're doing gangbusters and playing well. And the other guys, some of the guys like Diaz, who had a great year, not last year, but the year before. He's not hitting again, but Lowe is. And Brandon Lowe is the guy that can carry that team. And he's doing really well right now. So the Rays are a weird team. Taj Bradley, I think, is one of those guys that can still develop further, but he's got to start developing. I mean, like, if you want him to be another Shane McClanahan, he's got to get going. Shane Baz, same issues. These guys come out, a lot of hype, a lot of different things, and they can pitch, and they can throw hard, and they can do all this stuff. But the reality becomes is, where do they top out? Like, remember Chris Archer? Those guys, they top out. They top out at a certain level, and they never become what everybody thought they would be. And McClanahan's different, but the rest of these guys, they're good, but they're not necessarily growth oriented if they don't take those next progressions. And we'll see if that happens for the Rays. I think it'll be interesting because they're playing in Steinbrenner Field this year, so we'll see how that kind of works. I know that the Rays are excited about playing there for one reason. They talk about playing in the dome and not seeing sunlight all the time. They like the idea that there's the windows and all the training rooms and everything has bright sun, and you can, it's just in Florida anyway. If you're in the sun and you can see the sun, it makes you feel different. You have a different feeling about where you're at, and it's a positivity thing. And then secondly, Steinbrenner Field, the Yankees went and did a lot of remodeling to that and putting a lot of money in there. It's better than what the Tampa Bay Rays play in terms of their training facilities. It is. They were walking around videoing it, talking to the clubhouse guy, and he's like, Jesus, you should see this room. And then they show the dugouts, and they are not dugouts, the locker rooms and the training facilities and the spas and the where they eat and the weight rooms and all this stuff. And it's night and day. It's exactly the word that they used. It is night and day better than where they are at home. So Tampa Bay Rays baseball team playing in a minor league AAA stadium has better facilities than what they normally have on a daily basis. So, my opinion, they love what's going on in terms of that part of it and playing outside. Sure, they would love to play in a bigger stadium than I think it only holds like 11, 12,000 people. So, they'd like to get 20, 30,000 to some of these games, but they don't happen that way anyway, normally for the Rays, except for when the Red Sox or the Yankees come down here.
The Central, I like the Tigers. Obviously, Cy Scuba will get it cooking. They're pitching the younger guys. Mize is looking real good in the spring training. The start.
See how he does today. Got the Yankees on deck today.
Correct. Job, high expectations, blackjack. I think that the Tigers will be fine there. Houston, we have problems. I mean, they Tucker to the Cubs, Bregman to the Red Sox. Two big bats. The leadership by Bregman. So I don't expect a lot from Houston.
Replaced by Isaac Paredes and then the kid they got from the Cubs to play right field. I forget what his name is. He's a high prospect. He should be good, but at the same time, you take out Bregman, right, and you take out Tucker, and then you put in these two kids. Well, not kids. I mean, Paredes isn't really a kid, but he's not a developed player. But you put these guys in and you expect them to win. Come on, man. And then I get it. Framber Valdez is a good pitcher. But like we talked about just a few minutes ago, he is not like the most dominant pitching ace kind of guy in the league. He's not. So and they don't have Verlander anymore. They don't have Cole anymore. They don't have those guys. And certainly they don't have Hader that's of the heyday that can come in and close out these games. I think, and Altuve's getting older and stuff. I think. And Yordan Alvarez, if he doesn't hit 60 home runs or something crazy like that, this team's in trouble. I don't think they're going to be competitive in that division. And I think whatever, maybe I'm going to be wrong, but I don't like Houston.
No, and I think Texas, with the return of DeGrom, they'll go as far as DeGrom and some of their starters offensively. Wyatt Langford, Simeon, yada yada yada. They're going to score some runs. Corey Seager, of course. The Angels have jumped out to a 6-3 start. Logan Ohape hitting homers there. They'll come back down to reality, of course, there. But in the National League, again, I could talk for hours about it. The East, Phillies and Mets, 7-2, 6-3, respectively. The bottom of the barrel, the Braves, 1-8. The comedy there is they started the season against the Dodgers and Padres, who the Dodgers started out 8-0, and then the Padres 7-0, and the Braves come home, they win their first game, and they I think it was against Miami, they lose the next two. I'm a big Schwellenbach guy there. I have a 33-1 on him to win the Cy Young. I'm not stupid, Scott. I do have Skeens as well in the National League. My two American League, I have Crochet, and my wild card was Reagan's this year. But my point is, as you said, Strider could be back as early as late this week, maybe next week. Acuna, the start of the month there. I thought it would be a 2-horse race, and I'm contrarian on this. I get the Braves on top. I get the Mets right behind them, and I'm expecting a little regression from the Phillies. I had them under the 90 wins there because, listen, I know Wheeler. I know Nola, but to me, they're getting a little longer in the tooth. I know they got Suarez. Listen, they're going to score with anyone, but I think this year, maybe All-Star break on, the pitching starts to take a little chunk back. two-horse race, Mets and Braves, and at the finish line, I had the Braves nipping the Mets.
I can go with that to a degree. I'm not sold on the Mets at all. I like the Mets offense. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I think they can hit. I think the Mets are going to run into starting pitching problems. That they don't match up to the Phillies, and they don't match up to the Braves. So when you match up their starting rotation, in opening day, for example, you got Clay Holmes, who's the opening day starter for the Mets. He doesn't match up to Wheeler or Strider or any of these guys that pitch for the other teams. And then you can just go down the line. They don't match up. So they're going to have to hit. And if they don't hit, they're going to lose. And certainly they could go out and buy different guys and do different things the way the Mets are in terms of the money issues. But I think the Mets are going to fall short. I think the Braves are the best team. I think the Phillies made a significant move that's going to help them. They don't have to, deal with Ty Walker that much anymore. I mean, they got Luzardo, man. And Luzardo's a good pitcher, and he's left-handed, and that's going to help them. And that's going to give, Aaron Nola's of the world who, and, you always hear about where he at in, sabermetrically, he's loved and he's got great numbers and all that stuff. But, you watch him pitch, and if he's on, he's pretty good, which I guess you could say that about almost any pitcher. But if he's off, he gets killed. And the reality, though, is he is a really maybe number 2, probably number 3 pitcher is really what I think he is. And I think the Phillies recognize that because they went Wheeler, Luzardo, and then Nola, and certainly maybe trying to split up the righty, lefty, righty kind of thing. So and they don't have Suarez pitching for them right now. So when he and Sanchez, who's a left-handed pitcher for them, he's young. Sanchez is going to be one of the best pitchers that they have. So I think people I shouldn't say it this way. I think people underestimate what Sanchez really is and what his quality is. Sanchez is going to be better than Aaron Nola this year. Just give you that. He's a better pitcher than Aaron Nola. So if he's your number 4 guy and you got Suarez as the number 5 guy, they're deep, and they do have good bullpen. So I think this is a team that can match up to the Braves, and it's just a matter on who's hot and who's not. Obviously the Braves aren't hitting shit. And if you remember last year, the Braves didn't hit shit either. They were carried by Marcell Ozuna last year. I mean, there's no wonder if you look at him, he's so huge now. He's got a big back, big shoulders, broad legs, like he carried that whole team all year. Well, he's not quite doing that right now, and they've only won once. And they played the Marlins, for Christ's sakes. So I really think that team is borderline in trouble. And I say that because we expect them to hit. Well, I guess it's kind of like, I made a bet yesterday on the Diamondbacks, and the Diamondbacks lost by 1. I expected Corbin Burns to be really good because he hadn't pitched good for his first couple of starts. And I thought, okay, he's going to be good today. And he didn't. And what you can always say about the Diamondbacks, they're going to score runs. Well, that's when Ketel Marte plays. And he's out now for probably a month, maybe longer, because he's got a hamstring problem. So think about what Acuna is to that offense for the Braves. These guys are catalysts, but they're not necessarily just catalysts on the lineup. They might be the energy that the team feeds off of that makes them spark to get them going. And if your team loses that guy, I think the Braves are dead energy-wise. Matt Olson and Riley, Austin Riley, you watch these guys, you look at them and you go, Jesus, those guys look dead stone, whatever. I mean, they're just walking up there, swinging the bat, do whatever. If they do great, they do great. If they don't, they just turn around, walk. There's no fire. There's no passion, right? And, I get it. It's 162 games, but you got to have that energy level. Like say what you want to about the Reds, but Ellie De La Cruz brings that energy, and they feed off of that stuff. And I think that this is an energy-led team, and you don't have that with the Phillies. The Phillies do have some energy, even no matter who it is. If it's Harper that day, or if it's Schwarber that day, or if it's the shortstop that day, or if it's Bohm or whoever, they're gonna be crazy energy. The Braves don't have that, and that could be a big problem. And if their manager doesn't, Snickers, what is he, 75 million years old? Those guys need to help feed that. And I have concerns about the Braves because you don't turn that around unless you have, a spark plug. You know what I mean? Like that, and that hasn't happened for them. So I don't know, what that means. I still have them ranked, right there with the Phillies and right there with the Mets. I just think the Mets come short. And I think because they come short, that creates a problem in terms of playoff potential for the Mets because, obviously the Dodgers are the Dodgers, right? But the Padres are pretty damn good, and they got energy. They got lots of energy on that team. They don't necessarily have the pitching depth that they used to have, but they've got energy there. So depending upon how kind of all this and the Diamondbacks are really good. Especially they got great pitching and not necessarily bullpen, but they got great pitching and they can score. So they're going to miss Ketel Marte, but at the same time, we'll see how it all plays out that way. So the Mets are going to be competing with those teams, and let alone with the other team in their own division, like the Phillies or the Braves. There's a lot of things in play to get to the playoffs in the National League, which I don't think you still have the same. I don't think you have that same level of competition in the American League.
And the comedy is, the Cubs have to go to Japan, face the Dodgers.
Who the Cubs have played? I just pulled it up. I wanted to tell you that this is how good the Cubs are. The Cubs played the Dodgers in Japan. Then they went to Arizona Diamondbacks. Then they went and played the A's. Okay, whatever. Now they're home playing San Diego. Then they play the Texas Rangers. Then they get the Dodgers, the Padres, the Diamondbacks, the Padres, and the Phillies. That's their schedule to start the season. If this team is I don't know, 550 through that stretch of games, wait till they start playing the next group of games, the Pittsburghs and the Milwaukees and all those Miamis. They're going to kill those teams, and they're just going to go. They're going to be close to 575, 600 win percentage and be right there. This is a good team, and they just got to make it through this stretch. So hopefully their pitchers don't fall, don't have their arms fall off and stuff, and they can do whatever they need to do. Ben Brown's not been good, so those guys need to be able to get through some of that. The Cubs, man, they got a lot of heavy lifting at the beginning.
No, I love the Cubs. Have them to win that division. Obviously, Cincinnati Reds, we expect better. 3 straight, as you said, 1-0. Their offense anemic, but Tito will get them under their wing. They'll be fine. I think the Cardinals will score some runs. Again, their front end pitching used to be the place to go and get a little of that juice. And they were awesome back in the day. They're struggling there. I am not a fan of the Brewers. And of course, every 5th day we get Skeens Day there with the Pirates there. The Wild Wild West, my San Francisco Giants, 8-1, have won 7 in a row, Scotty. My love affair for the Giants. We talked all last year about the Giants. Dodgers 9-2, Padres 8-2, the Diamondbacks 5-5. Projected pre-flop, Dodgers to win that division by 18 games to the Diamondbacks, then the Padres, then the Giants. The Wild Wild West, Scotty. What do you make of the Wild Wild West right now?
Well, I think that the Dodgers are, they're good, right? Like, I mean, you can't really sit here and go, hey, the Dodgers, whatever. Blake Snell's hurt, right? So he's going to be out for a little bit. I don't know that really totally affects them dramatically. Blake Snell is one of these guys that if you look at his career, he struggles in the first couple months anyway. So, if he's not pitching in the first couple months, you're probably saving yourself some money because you're probably betting on him. And he goes out there and he walks 5 and strikes out 5 and gives up a couple hits. And then all of a sudden you're behind 3-0 and you take him out of the game and you lose your first 5 bets because you can't bet the Dodgers hardly any other way, right? So anyway, I thought this Mookie Betts thing getting sick and this Freddie Freeman thing stepping in the shower and whatever the hell, breaking his ankle or whatever the hell he did, I'm making that up. He didn't break his ankle. He just twisted it or whatever. I think it's weird. I think the Dodgers are finding ways to stretch and give all these guys a chance to play. I don't think Kike Hernandez is a good player myself. I mean, I know he's loved in the Dodgers organization and he comes in and does some things for them. But that team is those 3 top hitters, and Ohtani started off, doing well. He's kind of not really hit the last couple games, but that's okay. You're going to run through that some. Betts was sick, lost 20 pounds or whatever, now he's trying to eat, protein bars and every other thing he can find to gain the weight back. And then come through with a couple of big homers, the one series there, and won a couple games, which is amazing to me that he was able to do that. And then, they're missing Freddie Freeman. They need that lineup to be those 3 guys. Because Teoscar Hernandez is a good player where he's at in the lineup, and then Smith is good behind him. And when you miss one of those guys and you move everybody up or you substitute somebody in, I think where the Dodgers are right now is Tommy Edman is doing a wonderful job for them, saved them a little bit of the dependency on those big 3 guys. So I think that's good. Hernandez is doing what Hernandez does. He's hit a couple home runs already and driving in the big runs. Max Muncy isn't hitting. Those guys. The Pages kid that plays center field for them, he's not doing much. I expect the Dodgers to that back end of the lineup's not that good. So I think they need to fluctuate guys around and do some different things and to make them stay good. But the thing that is interesting is the Padres are really good in the top of the order too. You got Tatis up there, and Tatis is an MVP, man. He can be. I think people forget that Fernando Tatis can hit 40 home runs and steal 50, 60 bases, and then everybody's going to go, well, that's kind of like what Ohtani does. Well, yeah, it is. I mean, it really is. He might not be hitting 50, 60 home runs like Ohtani might, but he's that kind of player. And if you can get something out of Bogarts, who's doing well right now, you got Manny Machado and what's the kid's name that plays the outfield for them? He's batting 4th. He is fantastic.
Cronenworth?
No, not Cronenworth. It's Padres. Where's my Padres at? Batting Padres. I should know this guy's name off the top of my head. I talk about him all the time. It is Jackson Merrill, man. Jackson Merrill, he's batting 4th for them now. And he hits lefties. I mean, this is a team that Jackson Merrill, Tatis, Machado, Bogarts,
Arias.
Yeah, and Arias ain't even hitting. So, he's a 300 hitter. So I think that they're pretty good. I think that they got pitching issues, so we'll see how it goes. Gavin Sheets has done really good for them so far. I would tell you that the Dodgers lining up their staff the way it does with Glasnow, Snell, Yamamoto, and I don't know what this Sasaki's going to end up being. I mean, he's a young kid, so I think people thought he was going to come in and be this dynamite pitcher, and I think will develop to be that. I don't think he's going to be that this year. I think he needs to learn how to be able to be a dynamic pitcher. So he's going to have his ups and downs. I think he's been mostly down than up so far. But the Diamondbacks can pitch. If you have Corbin Burns and then Zach Gallen, you're pretty good at the top of that rotation. And who else do they have? I forget. They have the Diamondbacks have Gallen, Rodriguez. Let me go to starting pitchers. So they have Gallen, Eduardo Rodriguez, Burns, Fad, and Merrill Kelly. Those are all legit starting pitchers, and all are good. Now, Merrill Kelly hasn't had a good start to the season, and certainly neither has Burns. But I think that when you really look at, like if you look at projected WAR and that kind of stuff, they're one of the best, if not the best, even over the Dodgers. So I like what they have to offer. I think the Padres are where you're going to run a little short there. Michael King, I don't know what you're going to get out of him. I think last year was a special year. I think he regresses. And then Dylan Cease is really good. But after that, what do you got? They need more pitching, and they don't have this most dynamite bullpen. So I think that's where the Dodgers stand out. Is their bullpen is just lights out, man. They got every level lights out bullpen. So I think that they match up to, it doesn't matter who. But they can get beat. I mean, they can lose. They can lose a series. Anything can happen with that. I think to myself this way, right? We talk about the Braves and how good the Braves are, or how bad the Braves are. But how many games did the Braves have lost or won once out of 9 times? So I don't know what their streak is. I don't remember. They've lost 4. They've lost 5. They've got to have done one of the two, or they've lost 6. Whatever it is, I don't think that here's what I don't think. I don't think the good teams are going to do that. I don't think the Dodgers are going to lose 5 or 6 games all season in one shot. They might lose 3. They might lose 4. I don't think they're going to lose 5 or 6. I don't think you're going to see the Padres in that spot that often. They might do it once. So think about these really good teams. Even the Cubs, they're going through this stretch right now. They're not going to lose 5 or 6 games. They just won't. They can score, they can hit. And I think that's what worries me about teams like the Braves. If you can go on an extended losing streak like this, that matches up to what, the Marlins do. That matches up to what the Pirates do. That doesn't match up to what the Dodgers do, or the good teams, or the Phillies and these guys. So I got some concerns about the Braves.
We've talked for literally 1 hour already. A little commercial break here and there due to a storm here. As I said in the intro, 11 games on the docket, Scotty. We're going to have you back Friday afternoons as well to break down the Friday night lights cards, the weekend series, the outlooks there. Is there a particular matchup or game that you're eyeing tonight to start the week off right?
Well, I'm looking at some of this stuff, and I guess the best way to say it is I haven't bet anything yet, but the couple of thoughts that I have, number one, and when I look at some of these things, and let me pull this up just a little bit bigger, San Diego plays out in Sacramento, I guess, today, and you got Michael King and Severino. My number says minus 161 for San Diego, and the number is minus 140. Now I get it. people don't want to bet minus 140 and all that stuff. So I'm not going to sit here and say that that's the play for me, but that's an angle that I'm looking at right now, because Michael King, his first game was bad, his second game was good. Severino gets hit. So you can be the best Severino that you can go out there with, and he's still going to get hit. So and the Padres can hit. I mean, certainly the A's are one of these teams that a lot of people don't know a whole lot about. They got a young, talented group of players, but they strike out a lot. So and of all the pitchers today, Michael King strikes out more than anybody except for Mackenzie Gore, and that's because he struck out everybody that opening day. So I kind of like the idea that Michael King's going to be pretty good today. I ran some numbers, and let me see if I can get it back, because the reason I'm telling you this is because when I had it up and I had the power outage, it just blanked everything. This is my new thing that I've been working with, Jeff. This is my new AI stuff and my new models that work with AI, and it runs through every game, and it uses my formats, meaning that, I like game score of pitchers. I use that as a thing. I also have plugged in the dynamics of if a team scores 10 or more runs, they're probably not going to get that many, this time through. We have so the game score theory, that, and a bunch of sabermetrics data in here. And then it runs through and gives me a predicted outcome of these games. And it's been pretty good. And let me swing this over so that you can see. I don't know if you can't see it, but it's predicting Yankees today 7-4. That's probably relatively realistic, to be honest. The one thing I will tell you that I like about the Yankee game, I don't know that I like the number. Where's the number? The number is what, minus 146. I don't necessarily was that, but I think you can bet some of these teams and not worry about the run line. So especially early, these teams that aren't scoring, like the Tigers, don't score a lot of runs either. So and it's a lefty on the mound, and he's a pretty good lefty, and that takes Kerry Carpenter out of the equation for the Tigers. If you take Kerry Carpenter out of the equation for the Tigers, they're not as good at offense as they were. And plus, Riley Green's a lefty, and he doesn't hit lefties as well, but even they leave him in there. So, that's one of those games where if you go, hey, it's 7-4 predicted on here, it's probably pretty good. And the Yankees lost yesterday. It's probably one of those spots where you sit here and go, Casey Mize has thrown great 2 times in a row. Yeah, he hasn't. He's going to get reffed up in one of these spots. This is with the Yankees. And it's probably one of these times where I like that idea and that approach, right? So my opinion would be is I have this thing set up where it gives me a confidence level of the run line. And it goes and it says, well, it's pretty high. It says 90% chance that it's likely to cover the run line. So I like that idea. The next game, like the Cardinals and the Pirates, it's a little more wishy-washy, but it comes back and says Cardinals 5-3 over the Pirates. We're looking at the Dodgers game, 5-3 Dodgers. So it's coming back, and if you look at those totals and you match up the totals to the actual lines, this AI thing, it's pretty close. And if it's well off, usually I go with what my AI my program says, and it works. Like I bet the Reds in the Brewers under 8, and it was that 1-0 game. And I'm like, holy shit, this thing is, and it told me that game was going to be 3-1. So when I start looking at some of this stuff, I'm like, this is great. This one has Giants 5-3 over the Reds today. Could make sense. Hunter Green's been good, but this is the second time now Hunter Green will have faced the Giants, and it's also the second time Logan Webb will have faced the Reds. They faced each other on opening day. Hunter Green was dynamite that day. So you expect a little aggression from him and a little bit better from Webb. The obviously the Giants are hitting, and the Reds don't hit shit. So I kind of like that one. It's got an interesting one here. Cubs 6 and Texas 2. Now, Evaldi's been as good as anybody. And when I looked at his numbers and stuff, he's had 2 great games. Game scores over 70 both times. That's not going to happen 3 times in a row. If he throws an average game or below average game, that's going to benefit the Cubs. The second thing is Justin Steele's pitching. This will be his 4th start. And his first 3 starts, he hasn't thrown a game score 50 yet. Everything's been below. He's one of the best pitchers that they have, and he's one of the better pitchers in baseball. He's not an ace, but he's one of the better pitchers in baseball. He's left-handed. Texas doesn't like left-handers, even though they should. They don't. And my opinion would be that's probably a good spot to look. Red Sox 6-2 today over the Blue Jays. System likes Fitz over Easton. When I looked at Easton's numbers, his xERA. So let me just say this for a second. I learned something over the summer and not summer, but over the winter and trying to do some different things. I didn't really realize that you can take projected numbers. xWOBA numbers are projected weighted on base averages for offenses. I didn't really realize you can take xERAs, projected ERAs, and turn them into projected runs. I didn't realize that. But there is a mathematical formula to do it. So I plugged those into this. Those mathematical formulas are into this program. And when it runs, it takes into account the predicted xWOBA number, but that's based off of the pitcher pitching against that team before. And if they haven't, then it's just a standard number, the average number. And if it's the same for xWOBA and then xERA, I didn't realize was such a big deal, because if you remember me talking years for the last 5 years, all I do is sabermetrics, and all I do is those data points. I don't use StatCast. Well, xERA is a StatCast measurement. xWOBA is a StatCast measurement. So those are kind of put into here, and they're plugged into here, and I kind of like it with the idea that they're based off of hard hit rates, barrel rates, and all that stuff. So I like the idea that this is relatively encompassing, and I like what it's doing to at the beginning. So we'll see how it develops and grows and goes. I gotta be honest, I'm not the best coding guy in the world, and I fight with this shit. I've got 3 programs I'm trying to get right. If there's anybody out there that's listening or watching that can help me with scraping and coding and stuff, let me know, because I've got some things that I need to have done that I'm just struggling with. Some of it seemed to be simple, but it's just not working. So, but anyway, Jeff, if I were to go and kind of, I guess at the beginning, kind of look at this and go, hey, where do you like to be? I would tell you that I'm trying to look at my numbers to tell you where the best spot that I think might be. And I'm going to have to do a little more checking on it, because when I make my number, I get value in the number, and then I look at it towards kind of the value of where all the games are, and it's sort of out of sequence there. So anyway, that's just food for thoughts for tonight.
Well, I find it comical. My closing thought here is Texas, Chicago. You talked about Eovaldi versus Justin Steele. My love or not love affair with Justin Steele. When I bet him, he turns into the aluminum can. When I go against Justin Steele, he becomes side Justin Steele. But the real funny thing here, opening number and number right now, under over 6. And this is at Wrigley Field. I don't see Nolan Ryan on one side. I don't see Kerry Woods, Mark Pryor. The list is at Rick Sutcliffe. My gut, well, it must be telling me the wind's going to be blowing in today at Wrigley Field, Scotty.
So it's 34 degrees. Feels like temperature is 21. Wind is blowing in at game time 15 miles an hour from left center field, 13 later on in the game. So it's a huge blowing in game. So I still think that favors the Cubs. And the reason I say it favors the Cubs is because I think, well, man, baseball's this way anymore. If you hit home runs, you score runs. If you don't hit home runs, it's hard to score. But I think the Cubs have way more way to score runs, stealing bases, moving guys around, doing stuff than what the Rangers do. I like the Cubs tonight.
Well, it's always, like I said a million times, I'll make it a million plus one. We're so glad to have you back here. Of course, Mondays, every morning on Mondays, 10:30 a.m. Weekend recap. We'll do some Monday night projections, thought process throughout the week, and of course, have you back here on Friday afternoons for the Friday Night Lights MLB update and special, and of course, the weekend series outlook. Scotty, I know life gets busy. Life has changed. They know where to find you on Twitter at Webby20MLB. Any closing thoughts for yourself, sir?
Yeah, well, let me just say it this way. You know, one of the things that I think, one of the reasons I think that, you know, I haven't been doing a whole lot of things online lately. I have a distaste for some of this stuff. You know, like I just want to help people. I just want to do what I can. I love talking baseball. I love doing the sabermetrics. I love trying to figure things out. But I don't like drama. I don't like infighting. I don't like I don't like our lanes, right? I mean, there's a lot of that stupid stuff that goes on, and it's just I don't want to be dragged into any of that stuff anymore. I don't want to be a part of that anymore. So I don't sell plays anymore. I don't do any of that stuff anymore. I'll be glad to help people out. I'll be glad to answer questions. I'll be glad to do all the stuff that anybody would ask me to do. I've got people that are fairly loyal to me. One of the guys said, "Hey, are you doing this anymore?" No, I closed my website down. All the stuff that I was doing, you know, I used to do all these reports and I would post them every day. Look, man, it's a waste of my time. And I don't mean that disrespectfully to anyone, but you know, when you're trying to help people and you're trying to do stuff and maybe it goes somewhere, maybe it doesn't. The reality of it is it doesn't feel good and it costs you money. And I kept saying that all last year, right? It costs money to do all this stuff. And I'm not doing it that way. So I don't mind coming on, Jeff. I love doing these things a couple times a week. It's perfect for me. I think it's great. And I'm so excited to do it. And I miss it. I love talking to people. I'd love for people to get in the comments. I'd love for people to ask questions. I'd love for lots of things to go on. But, you know, it is what it is. Sometimes you love different things and it doesn't happen. And sometimes it does. So we'll see how it goes.
4 o'clock, hopefully, if not 4:30, 5 o'clock, myself and Riley Magnuson will be back for the closing bell. It's been a pleasure, of course, to have Scotty back. Baseball is back. It's going to be an exciting year, especially in the American League East, with his Rays, my Sox, and we'll see if the demise of the Yankees and Orioles comes true here. So for myself at Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, the one and only Mr. Scotty Webb at Webby20MLB, wish everyone a blessed afternoon. Enjoy yourself. Stay in your lanes. We'll be back around 4 o'clock. Stay tuned.